Canadians and cult members. Welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to Yay! Doctor Who's back!
Yay!
This is not a surprise. We knew it was coming. It took way too long to get to this point. It's been almost 2 years since we've had a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
A new Doctor Who episode.
A good year and a half at least.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This one is the first in the 60th anniversary specials. This one is called The Star Beast. Very typical Doctor Who. Who you think is the bad guy is not the bad guy.
Right. Who you think is the good guy is not the good guy.
Is not the good guy, yeah. If you've not been around for one of our discussion reactions, whatever, we don't watch along. We watch the episode of what we watch the episode. We sit down here and work out what we just watched. So we may miss some details. And a lot of the stuff that we usually talk about is things like the meaning of why we're doing this. Why are we having this conversation? Why is the writers and the storytellers telling this story? And we talk spoilers, heavy spoilers. So if you have not watched the episode, go watch the episode, come back,
and then come back. Yes.
Like and subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. With all of that being said, I have no idea where this story is going, and I am totally okay with that.
Right. We don't know why the David Tennant face is back yet. I mean,
as 14, not as 10.
Right.
As 14.
Right. A whole new generation of an old Doctor.
Yeah.
Which has never happened before, which is absolutely fine. But they brought it up multiple times in this episode about why this face.
Yeah.
He said why this face. The woman from Unit, I think, asked him why this face. Donna asked him why this face.
Yeah.
So obviously, and Donna's back, and now they're off on an adventure or two. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
why? Davies has talked about in many interviews about there's specifically a story that he wants to tell. Now that story is going to be with Chuchi, who will be the 15th Doctor, who will show up in this 3-part miniseries thing.
Yeah.
And we know the Toymaker is coming, the Neil Patrick Harris character, the Toymaker, as part of the official 60th anniversary day celebration. The YouTube channel for Doctor Who did like the greatest hits over 3 hours for everything in the series, and they brought up the Toymaker, who is one of the first villains outside of the Daleks that the first Doctor dealt with. And but that particular Toymaker was it's either you do this or you do this. There's no it's the lesser of two evils kind of thing.
Right.
And that was kind of what this episode ends up being. We've known for a long time that if Dr. Donna remembered being Dr. Donna, she was going to die.
Right.
And they played with that after Donna Noble's time came to an end in the series. They played with that idea a little bit. But specifically, why are we bringing back Tennant's Doctor to be 14? And why are we playing with Donna? Now, real world, logistically wise, the chemistry between David Tennant and Catherine Tate is amazing. They're great friends. They have so much fun together. It's amazing to see them on screen together.
Yeah.
But for the story of Doctor Who, why are they telling that story? And we didn't get any clues.
No, and I'm okay with that.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Let's talk about some of the stuff that did happen in this episode. This is very much a Davies Monster of the Week, making you question your perception of how people identify, whether it be good, evil, enforcers, peacekeepers, man, woman. That's a very Davies thing to kind of deal with.
Yep.
And so let's talk with the Meep, who identifies
As the Meep.
as the Meep.
Yes.
And I love they took. We'll talk about Rose in a minute. I'm going to talk about the Meep because they are the main villain of this episode. And they present as a cute little lovey thing in the toy closet in Rose's Tardis shed
Yep.
toy maker booth. But come to find out that the Meep are big fangs, evil eyes,
Huge fangs. Yes. I mean, uh, honestly, like the first time I saw the Meep, I was like, "Oh, it looks cute. It's
right,
gonna be,
right,
you
right.
know, it's the Monty Python. The how evil can a bunny be?" So, yeah, I was like, don't trust the cuteness."
Right, right.
And
The only time we were able to trust the cuteness was the adipose,
right,
because they
right.
weren't really anything other than just baby fat monsters, and they were even really monsters.
They weren't really monsters. They were just crazy baby fat. Well, I mean, yeah, the lack of them started killing people, but it wasn't their fault. It
Yeah,
was the
right,
nanny's
right,
fault. So,
right.
yeah, yeah. So, uh, yeah,
I like that they use the Meep as a why are we set in this idea of, because they present as this, that they are only this.
right.
And that is brought up in a conversation when Rose, as the doctor is talking to the Meep when they're in the noble house, um, and he calls the Meep him.
Yeah,
And Rose points out, well, how do you know it's him? And the doctor's like, you know what? You're right.
yeah,
Because that's a very Doctor Who thing, going back and rewatching when Matt Smith becomes the Doctor, when he becomes 11, he pulls his hair down. He's like, oh my God, I'm a girl. No,
yeah,
is one of the things he does. Um, and then he makes the joke of still not a ginger.
yeah,
And that was that was a thing that was a problem for Doctor Who and culture when that came out.
yeah,
And now we go forward 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, somewhere in there. And and now we have to have that conversation, and you can use that conversation as a plot point.
yeah,
Um, and then the doctor was like, "You're right. How do we address you?"
yeah,
And the Meep is like, "I am the Meep."
yeah.
And it was very um, encouraging because the doctor introduces himself as the doctor,
Right.
as the definitive, as the doctor.
Yeah,
And so we, as the audience, are getting played with because this thing looks cute.
yeah,
It has two hearts. It identifies just like the doctor. And you're the entire time you're like, oh, it's super cute.
yeah,
And then come to find out, the doctor starts putting pieces together,
yeah,
and that the unit officers who are compromised by the hallucinogenic star.
yeah.
So Doctor Who. But he starts to put together the pieces that maybe the Meep isn't exactly who they are presenting as, and then these big, tall, bug-like creatures aren't really necessarily maybe
The bad
the
guy.
bad guys either,
Yeah,
because they have stun guns. And come to find out, they're like the universal peacekeeper.
yeah, yep, Yep.
And so having that continuing conversation of, just because they are presented in one way doesn't mean that's how.
right. They're big and scary, and the Meep is little and cute,
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean that the little and cute is good
yeah,
and the big and scary is bad.
yeah. And this is all to present that Rose is
Transitions,
transitioning.
transitioning, transitioned.
And again, presenting in a way that we are presented all of the advertising and everything that we got. They made a point of saying, "This is Rose. Welcome to Rose."
Mhm.
And we, as the audience, have been speculating, did Donna name her daughter Rose after Rose Tyler?
Right.
And
but Rose actually picked it was the name
it's the name that she picked.
Her transition name, yeah.
Yeah. And so, because come to find out that Donna passed her Dr. Noble or Dr. Donna stuff onto her child.
Yeah.
And they shared that burden of the binary, whatever, and that all of those ideas that were locked away in Donna's head were locked away in Rose's head.
Right.
And all the toys that she makes were the Ood and the Dalek and the Cyberman and the dogs. I thought that was really interesting. The dogs from the last season with the protective dogs that
yeah, wasn't that Jodie?
Halifax? Yeah, yes, that was Jodie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, wait.
I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
They threw that in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And then the Rhino guys, which I don't remember what their name is. Oh, go, Joe.
Levine? No.
No. Levine or the
it's right there. Radicast. That's not it either. It's all
but he was a doctor.
So many freaking characters. But her choosing Rose, her in the process of trying to find her true self, is another way of showing the audience that just because you're presented into the world as one thing doesn't necessarily mean that that's who you are.
Yep.
And that is something that we deal with our family. We are presented as a middle class. Like if you walk into our house, we have a very middle class neighborhood, and then you come into my room, and I'm a super geek, and I hide it at work sometimes. Although some of the guys understand it, so they come ask me questions like, "Okay, so explain Game of Thrones to me." I need a bottle of tequila and like 4 hours. But it's one of those conversations that we wouldn't have had 10 years ago,
right,
or 8 years ago,
right.
When they announced Jodie, the whole conversation was the Doctor can't be a woman, except they've presented it throughout time that it's a crapshoot and how you regenerate.
Right, and it was just, it was more the world we lived in that always had the Doctor as a man. Up until the 70s, women weren't like real life doctors, medical doctors in the real world. So it wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, it wasn't even a conversation. Yeah.
Not necessarily, bad on the people that were doing Doctor Who at the time. They just didn't know any better. I find because we rewatched that, the scene where Tennant goes into Matt Smith, regenerates into Matt Smith, and that scene's cringeworthy now. It's like it's very cringe.
Yeah,
because he does no, not a woman. I think it's like, did BBC and Target get together and go, okay, so
we looked for the Nutcracker, we couldn't find
wheelchair and LGBTQ plus rights.
Yeah,
that's where we're going. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Might want to
same team.
Throw that in for Christmas. I was laughing.
I should have looked up her name. The unit science officer, who is the 56th science officer for unit.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, I was the first one. She's like, I know, I've read the file. Having her be part of unit on scene, and then them pointing out, sorry about the stairs, I can't take you up to the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it was a subtle thing in the moment, but it was also one of those, like, in the real world, like, it's such a stupid thing that, like, I can't, like, there's a lot of stuff in the UK you just can't go to because it's just not built for wheelchair accessible people or people with a disability of struggling to walk. It's maybe a better way.
Because there's so many, and this is completely off topic, but when we were in the UK, so many of the restrooms are on the basement floor of like public buildings because London is so old that
Yeah.
they had to kind of go build that stuff in later. And yeah, even in the museums and stuff, you have
Yeah.
to now they've got elevators but lots of the
There was a
pubs
couple of
and
pubs that I went into. I'm 6'3", and there was pubs that I could not stand up straight in to go pee
yeah, or go down the
or go
stairs.
down the
You had to
stairs.
kind
Like
of bend
I
down.
had to like kind of,
They had
especially on the way up, like on my hands and knees on the way up. And
carpeting.
it's kind of I'm kind of making a joke out of it, but it's also like if I'm struggling with it at 6'3", imagine being in a wheelchair, being have crutches
Right, or just a cane,
or just a cane or whatever.
struggling
It's
to go
so
up and down the stairs.
it was interesting to add that character into the story
Mhm.
when you're talking about what is there is actually not what it is appears, especially since she had a tank. Her
Right.
wheelchair was a tank. It had rockets and guns and
Again, presenting one way,
yeah.
you see someone who has some sort of disability, and a lot of people, you know, you see somebody in a wheelchair and you yell like to talk to them. It's like I'm not
Yeah,
deaf,
right.
or and it's kind of the same thing. They're in a wheelchair, so they must be you know incapable of defending themselves. And she's got rockets. She's like, I
Right.
got you.
I'll hold them off at the door. You go
Yeah.
take care of the rocket. Let's talk about Dr. Donna. They spent a lot of time. Mom spent a lot of time about make sure you forget. They played with the joke with when the spaceship crashed. Donna was busy stacking the stuff,
The boxes.
the boxes. I like the tension of the doctor running into Donna just on the street.
Yeah. It was more the what?
What? Yeah.
Rose, what?
Yeah. I want to see the behind the scenes the first time that happened. They called out Rose, and David's just like, "Wait, what?" But it comes down to the glass doors closed on the spaceship, and the doctor's on one side and Donna's on the other. This is reminiscent of Wilford being in the box when Tennant's doctor takes all the radiation.
Yep.
Goes on his thank you
ends
tour.
Ends up causing his regeneration.
Causes a regeneration into Capaldi, into Matt Smith. And so he talks to her. He's like, we could save as soon as the rocket takes off. It's going to kill everybody in London. And the Donna's like, yep, sure.
Yeah, he says we can do this. We can save everybody, but it's going to kill you. Yes.
Yeah, she didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And they talked about it several times in this episode. The lottery that they won.
Yeah.
That Donna gave. They bought a house and then they gave every cent of it away because it's something that he would have done. It's something that the doctor would have done.
Well, the doctor is the reason why she won the lottery.
To
begin with.
But in her subconscious,
yeah,
she was the Dr. Donna.
Yeah.
That was still there. And so even though they were struggling to put food in the refrigerator, which was a great way of putting, you fill the refrigerator, kind of comment about not having enough money to buy food.
Yeah.
It was her subconsciousness saying the person that was in my life would have done this.
Yeah.
And she gave all of her own money away. So they're in the spaceship. And of course she's like, yeah, sure. My kid's down there. My husband's down there. My mom's down there. There's 5 million people down there. They're all going to die. My one life doesn't matter that much compared to 5 million people. And the doctor says, no, it shouldn't. You're my mate. I miss you. You're my friend. It shouldn't come down to 5 million people or my friend.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, which is something happened a lot during the time with Tennant and Dr. Donna. That idea of often it came down to I have to sacrifice one piece. I have to sacrifice somebody or something for the greater good.
It was a David Tennant and Matt Smith thing.
Yeah.
And Capaldi. I mean, there wasn't as much of that with Jodie, but with the three of them, there was always this, I have to give up my thing, what I want, my person, my whatever for, the good of everybody else.
Specifically, I was thinking of Time Lord Victorious, where the Doctor saves everybody and comes home, and the astronauts all end up killing themselves.
Yeah.
And it was going to change the course of history, and because he decided that this one time that he
One
was going to
time,
be,
I'm gonna win.
yeah, I'm
or
going to win,
yeah.
and so he starts the Winter Soldier words.
He does.
Eh,
He starts saying something. I was like, oh, he's gonna activate her.
and she got activated.
Yeah.
Binary, which is the last thing that Dr. Donna says. That's the trigger for the Doctor to realize that she had been caught up and she had Time Lord energy in her and stuff like that. And she activates, and the two of them flip all the switches. And then her final line was the best 55 seconds of my life because I got to do this. And she stops the spaceship. The door opens. Donna has a great death scene. We're all crying. The possessed unit guys show up. The Meep tells them to kill him. And then somebody starts hitting other switches, and the unit guys deactivate. And we're like, in the back of my head, I'm like, what? Who? Huh?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Like, who else is there? Because it's the 60th anniversary, and in the past, we've had other doctors show up.
Yeah.
I was in this kind of in the back of my head. I'm like, I wonder if Matt Smith shows up. I wonder if somebody.
I thought it was maybe the unit scientist.
Science.
Yeah.
All of that made sense. So I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And the unit guys say what? Tennant says what? Donna sits up and says what? And we're all like, what?
You were dead. You were possessed. What? Yeah.
What just happened? And they switch to the outside control panel, and it's Rose, who has the ability because she is from Donna, and they share the burden that Donna was carrying on her own.
Yep.
And again, a great way of telling this story of maybe not everything is exactly the way you think it is.
Yeah.
Which is why the line "what" from Tenet is such a big deal, because you always think that you know what's going on, specifically in the Tenet era, but it also in the Matt Smith era with River and the astronaut and all that kind of stuff. But it was a nice. That was not the twist I was expecting. I was expecting a twist.
Yeah.
But that was not the twist I was expecting. And then they make a joke of we still have to solve this issue because the two of you are sharing the load, which makes it easier, but you can't live with this forever.
Yeah.
And Rose tells the Doctor, this is something that somebody who identifies only as a man cannot understand. We can let it go. And and Rose and Donna grab hands and expel the Time Lord energy.
Yep.
Now, there has to be a cut on TikTok in like 30 minutes of let it go, let it go.
and then them holding hands.
Holding hands and then but it's true. It's very true that in society, a lot of women have to not react, hold it in, and release it, let it go, release it some other way of how they are treated or how they are presented or how they're catcalled or looked down upon or whatever it is. And so having this moment of like, of that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Of course, the women who carry this burden of this extra life force on their person, of course they can just say, you know what, I'm just going to let it go and not let it affect me anymore.
Yeah.
It's a
and for Rose, it's a different. It's a different situation. It's still the same. It's the same but different.
It's the same but different. But I also when she says somebody who identifies only as a man,
yeah,
you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
And then after they expel the energy, she says, "This is the first time I ever felt like myself."
Yeah.
And so it was. I just one of the reasons I love sci-fi so much is this idea of you can talk about complex social, economic, blah blah blah
Political.
issues wrapped up in cute, scary monsters and time travel and stuff like that. And that's what Doctor Who has done for forever.
Right.
The problem that we had with Chipnall is Chipnall would sit there and smack us in the face that we're having this
Right.
conversation.
Right.
And I'm okay having this conversation. That's what Doctor Who, like the whole time with Capaldi, was talking about the war and how he dealt with the war.
Yeah.
And so having these philosophical conversations wrapped up in shiny stuff
Right.
makes it so much more approachable. Chipnall tried to wrap the social issue conversation on the shiny stuff. He did it the wrong way around.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
was way more, like, way less of the sci-fi stuff, way more of the.
yeah, yeah. And we loved Jodie, and there is some really good stuff that Chipnall did. I just think he missed the point of how Doctor Who is presented
Right.
in for a long time, and this is an example of that. Davies understands to have Davies is openly gay. Him and his husband have been together for 20 plus years, but they Davies has a better understanding of having a Doctor Who conversation with the fun, shiny monsters, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah, but also have ultimately it's about these social issues, these economic issues, these war issues, these
Yeah,
religious
and
issues.
and it's just a little more um real life.
Yeah.
Like, other than aliens and, the Meep and
Right, right.
running around. I mean, it was very much, we in our personal family have the same kind of situation going
Mhm.
on. So it was the same, like, talking about, you know, dealing with their, like, Rose and her mom kind of talk about it. I think it was Rose and her mom kind of talk about it, or not Rose, Donna and her mom talk about it before Rose comes in or whatever about, um, going from he
Mhm.
and his previous name that the
James. They
kids
were
were calling
calling her
her,
James.
to, like, just dealing with that on a personal level,
Mhm.
not on a societal level, as a mom and a grandma. So, but it's all just kind of in passing. It's not, we're going to all sit down and talk about this for the next 5 minutes,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
that's more about how real life
Yep.
actually works.
Yeah. It is. Those conversations are uh, Donna and her mom having that conversation while they're making the biggest sausage ever known to man, and another curry, by the way.
But that's, like, literally, that was Thanksgiving
That was Thanksgiving
in
dinner
our house,
in our house.
like, in the kitchen. Okay. And,
Yeah. And we move on. Like it's totally. So I guess for us, this episode's going to be a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. We're going to love it a lot more because it's something that's going on in our family,
yeah.
and that this is how our family handles it. This we love this person who, as they're trying to figure out who they are as a person,
Yeah.
and after the rest of the world, if they can't accept that for who they are. And you can stay in your corner over there, and we'll stay in our corner, and we'll have a good time, and curse and swear, and drink and smoke, and the fire was really smoky on Thanksgiving night. So yeah, so it's a conversation that's being had in our house. We're excited about this kind of episode. And so yeah, it was. I guess I really appreciated that it was.
Yes, I appreciated that, and it was exactly what I was hoping it would be, and it was the Doctor Who that I wanted it to
Yep.
be. It
Yep.
was, there was little side comments, like, if you didn't pay attention, you might not catch. Like, we're gonna have to rewatch it 5 or 6 more times, because there's always that. Even watching some of those old episodes, now, for the 15th time, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize they said that. Um, and just, fun and funny, and we're running, and and now I'm crying, and
the Donna running into the spaceship. The running, I'm done with the running, and I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, of course you are. It's been 15 years, and you struggled with the running before. Now it's even 15
I'm with
years.
you. I am with you, Donna.
We were talking about the TARDIS. I'm going to finish with the TARDIS conversation and then kind of where we're going. So they get to the TARDIS with the black plate. It's the blue police box, but the plate on the doors is call for emergencies or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always been white, and I think it was Jodie's TARDIS that had the black plate with the white lettering. So he parks it in Camden Market. By the way, we've been in that market.
Yeah, he walks out and was like, "Hey, he's in Camden,
right there. The canal boats are around the corner." And so when they show back up in Camden to get back in the TARDIS, they have the conversation like one last trip. Let's go do this. Let's go see Wilford. It would be really cool.
They can't see Wilford.
They're going to see Wilford. We've seen the set photos. But the TARDIS on the outside looked the same as we know it. And then they open the door, and it's a modern version of Hartnell's kind of setup. Very sterile. All the round things are there. There's all these different platforms, which are very much like Matt Smith's setup with the different layers and using the scaffolding to throw the coat on that Tennant did. So there's all these, and then the console itself had kind of hints of Hartnell's, hints of Matt Smith's, hints of that. They got rid of all the organic rock stuff that was Jodie's, which was totally fine. I hated the interior.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. I do appreciate knowing that Chuti is next. That the round things go in different colors.
They got to be disco. If we don't have a disco party inside the TARDIS, now they probably will change the TARDIS again because Donna lost her job for spilling coffee on the computer, and then she spills her coffee on the TARDIS, and now the control panel is on fire. And the Doctor says we could be going anywhere in space and time when they're just supposed to be waving by to say hi to Wilford. That's all they're supposed to be doing, and then coming back.
I knew as soon as she walked into the TARDIS, this is not going to go as planned.
But the idea that Donna plants in that conversation is you need to just try to live your life and have friends.
Right.
She tells him, now that I remember,
you can come
to the
by
house
for a cup of tea or dinner.
And you can have friends, because Jodie lost all of her friends.
Yep.
And Matt Smith lost his friends, and Capaldi lost his friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common theme with the Doctor is that we'll say they now, will outlive all of their companions.
Yes.
And so they're either going to die or they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And the Doctor has to live with that and be like, it makes your choosing of companions harder, different, because you can't just be like, just come on, get on the TARDIS and let's go. Where you have to, it's almost like, as humans, how you have to think about getting a pet.
A pet, yeah.
Because chances are really good you're going to outlive that pet, and can you deal with losing them?
Yeah.
So there, it makes your decision in, picking the right pet, picking the right companion, picking the right, they're always gonna leave somehow. And so I think that's something that Chuti's Doctor is gonna have
to come to terms with.
Live.
Especially with Ruby, because she's 19. She's very much like Rose with Eccleston, and it's I'm picking somebody young to stay with me for a long time kind of feel.
Maybe.
That's what it feels like. But Tennant is also the one who got to say goodbye to all of his friends.
He did, yeah. He's like the only one that ever got to do that.
That just kind of popped in my head when you were talking about it. Like, Tennant was the only one who got to do his
farewell tour.
And so I wonder if it's possible that we won't get Sarah Jane, unfortunately.
We know that Ace is coming back for...
Ace was in the... Yeah.
No, Ace and the other... the other woman...
Yeah.
Who were in the
The New Year's special,
the
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
are coming back for
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah.
So we will get
And we know
something with
Wilford
them.
is coming. And so now the question is, who else is going to show up?
Yeah. And sitting here talking about this, I get it. I get why they picked Chukdi because they. I don't know that I know pronouns for Chukdi. We'll say they. Uh, when asked, because Chukdi is gay in
Sex
sex ed.
education. Yeah,
And so when they first picked them, they asked, "Are you gay?" or what? I mean, like
right,
came out.
right.
Okay, and Juti said, um, like I am undisclosed or something.
Yeah,
It's something
yeah.
like that. Like basically, it's none of your business. So now that actually, because there was a comment too about, I think it was Rose. Like there's the male, the masculine, the feminine, and the
And the
and
other,
the other
yeah, when they were talking
neither
to the
or
Meep, I think is where that
something.
conversation was. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Chukti can be because the doctor has been
Both now.
male
Yeah,
and female
yeah,
now, so Chukti can be the
yeah.
combination of the two.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting about what that story is going to be, especially with what we know is coming with Toymaker in probably the next two episodes. And then,
And Rose was a toy maker, and now they're
right,
going.
like I don't, yeah, there's a lot, I think there's a lot dropped here where you're going to come back and you're like, that means a lot more than we thought it meant,
Yeah,
kind of thing. And I would like to see Jody, and I like to see Eccleston, I like to see Capaldi, and I'd love to see Borman, and I would love to see all these people show up. But if they are specifically trying to tell a story of ushering in the new Doctor Who, having them all show up doesn't really make any sense. We need to set up our own universe. We're already doing that with David and Kate,
yeah, yeah,
Catherine, and so yeah. So having, as much as I want to see all of them, and it's not that we won't see them. We will see them. All of them has said they'll come back outside of Eccleston. But he's doing all the big finish stuff, so he is back. So
right. And Davies was the Eccleston thing,
yeah,
right? So
Davies and
Eccleston will not come back
Eccleston will
for
come back,
Davies. Yeah,
but I Fleetwood Mac would never perform again, and the Eagles would never tour again. It's
never say never.
never, never say never, because timely wiping and shit. So let us know what you thought of this episode and our discussion about it in the comments down below. Please be nice. That's a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Follow us on all social media stuff. We're going to do all three of the specials, and then when the new episodes start coming with Chuchi and the Christmas episode next year and all that kind of stuff. So follow us, and we will be doing all kinds of Doctor Who stuff and Marvel and Star Wars and blah, blah, blah movies and whatever. So until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.